Hi there. Um, with all the shaking that's happening in our church, I'm impressed to share maybe a little bit of my experience when I was converted into this faith. It was 1991 when I was baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist faith. It was not the only religion that I studied coming out of my previous faith where I was raised. I actually had to study several Christian religion, and it was because I was looking for a church that would be teaching everything but just biblical. And so one of the primary reason why I got converted into the Seventh-day Adventist faith was because of the Sabbath truth. And I was really convicted that what God has said in the 10 Commandments, saying to remember the Sabbath day, because He knew that the majority of the world will be forgetting this Sabbath day, which He blessed and sanctified even from the very beginning, from the time of creation. I was really convicted that this was the true church. Well, initially I decided to get baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist faith, and that was because of the Sabbath truth. I thought that was the only truth, that I needed at that time. Not until I started hearing about Ellen White. Well, I was coming out of a previous religion where I was allowed to eat unclean meat, and I was raised that way. I was eating unclean animal products that included pork, shrimp, crab, fishes without scales, squid. Everything that was described in the Bible that was unclean. And honestly, I really didn't like that idea that I was gonna leave those kinds of food. But you know what? I finally realized that I said, whatever God said was unclean and that was not fit for me to eat. I'm pretty sure that He wrote those not for Himself but for me, that it was actually for my own good, that if I would just follow Him, I would be the first one to benefit from it, from that instruction. And yes, a lot of my diseases were gone just by changing from unclean meat to clean diet. I had asthma, I had migraine, I had skin diseases that would never go away, and they did go away just by changing my diet. I was better, but not well enough. Not really reaching that optimal level of health, although for me, that was already good enough at that time. And then later on, after I got baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist faith, I heard about Ellen White. And I said, who is this Ellen White? And initially, when I learned about the plant-based diet, and I'm just focusing right now on the health counsel, the health message, I really didn't like it, because both my parents were good cooks, and they cook really tasty meat dishes. And for me, just coming out of the eating of the unclean diet, that was already hard work for me. So for me, it was like, what, I just came out of this kind of diet, and now it's not enough yet. Like, I felt like I did so much work already, just trying to change my diet from unclean to clean meat diet. And now this, an additional, it seemed like more a burden to me. It says there that meat causes derangement in our system. It's not really good for our bodies. But for me to be able to embrace that, I said that would be another, another hard work. And I really didn't like it. Especially my favorites were, fried chicken. And I actually once said that when the health message was being presented to me, I was telling myself, I'm never going to live without fried chicken. To me, it was like, this is absurd. But then, you know what? As soon as I said that, it echoed to me. It echoed back to me. And that echo came with a question: is this all the faith that you have? Is this what you think God cannot do for you? Like, He cannot help you change your appetite? And I'm a nurse. I know what happens to people who eat meat. And I've seen the consequences of the meat diet, and that included heart disease, stroke, cancer. So I had to be honest to myself, and I said, you know what, if this is gonna be good for me, why not? And so I did try to change my diet one by one. I started with small goals, like for this month, I'm going to avoid eating red meat. And then the next month, this is the kinds of another set of, food items that I'm going to avoid. So I tried to progress and progress until I was able to avoid eating those, all those red meat and those what they call white meat, which is chicken. But then my last stop at that time was the fish. I really loved fish because I lived in a country where fish is like a staple food, and that was in the Philippines. But then later on, after learning that fishes have mercury and all fishes have mercury already, I had to really ask myself, like, are you not going to give this up when you know that mercury is not really good for your body? It didn't take overnight. It took me a while to change or to get rid of that food item. And it's really a struggle. But in every struggle, God's grace even abounds. It abounds even more than the difficulty that you are going through in order to overcome your appetite. And so finally, because I have this principle of all or nothing, I said it's really all or nothing. It's either I still continue to eat fish, and that is still being qualified as a flesh eater. You're still eating flesh. It's still meat, because fish is still an animal. It's not a vegetable. So I said, I'm going to give this up and I'll see where God would lead me to and what benefit I would be experiencing just by avoiding this. The first month that I gave up the fish diet, I actually experienced clarity of mind. And I really attributed that to not having fish in my diet, because we know that mercury it's a neurotoxin. It will destroy every nerve or brain cells in your body. And of course, it will really affect you mentally or cognitively. And so, what I'm trying to drive at is, whenever we hear of the health message of Ellen White, it is just natural that we meet it with rebellion. And I was really rebellious. And I had that accusation also against, that was part of my history. Initially, I was accusing of those who read her writings aside from the Bible as if they worship Ellen White. But I had to admit to myself that I was actually exaggerating, that the counsels that I heard from these people whom they, which they shared to me, were actually for my own good. So when I started looking into her writings, her counsels on health, the diet that we're supposed to be eating, all I see was actually the love of God. That this is how much He loves and cares for us. And He really wants us to enjoy the health benefits, the complete health from obeying the natural law, which was given to us in detail through our sister Ellen White. So why am I saying this? It's because I'm noticing that those people who are coming out of this church, they attack our sister Ellen White even without reading or studying her writings first. All I can say is I came from a heathen diet. I was eating not just meat, but unclean meat. And if there is a benefit, or if there are benefits that I have received from obeying the health counsels of Ellen White, it was really reaching the optimal level of health. I am now past 50, and I remember my parents, I was born to parents who both had high blood pressure, and actually they both had stroke, and I lost my father from a second stroke. But at that time, when I was still living with my parents, I was convicted that there is something that I should do to avoid getting the same diseases like high blood pressure and stroke. And I'm just thankful that God has really impressed me that there is something I can do, and that is by changing my diet. That I don't have to accept that whatever diseases my parents had, that I have to have that too. So aside from the health benefit, I really thank God that through the counsels of Ellen White, I was able to have that, that more clarity of mind, my mind being clear, and it did help me with my decisions in life. I may have made mistakes in life, but it really helped me to avoid major mistakes. And I could attribute that to the diet that God really wants us to eat, which is the whole plant-based diet. I don't know if that will make sense to you, but I just feel that I have a sacred responsibility to share this to those Seventh-day Adventists, to those who are in the same faith as I have, or even if you still are not in that faith, but just to kind of encourage you that if I was able to do it, having been raised from a home where we would eat everything that crawled into the table, and how God led me from that, starting from zero to now hitting the home run, I really believe that He can do it for you too. And if you are rejecting Ellen White's writings, even without reading it first, you really are missing out on something. I really encourage you to start with Steps to Christ, so that you would realize how God loves you so much. I actually started with Desire of Ages because that's where God led me first to. And I opened that chapter of Gethsemane right away during the time when I was so depressed. I was into partying. I was out in the world. I left the church. But God led me back to the fold. And that was through the chapter of Gethsemane in the Desire of Ages. And I could tell you that that book is also divinely inspired. And also after that, I read The Great Controversy, and that gave me further purpose and the meaning of why I am existing in this world, and what would be my ultimate purpose is in our generation. But I just would like to encourage you, not because of any reason, but if you really are concerned about your salvation, in my experience, the writings of Ellen White just drew me closer to the Lord, not to Ellen White, but closer to the Lord. So I hope that this testimony of mine has blessed you, and I'm sharing this because I love you, and I love you because Jesus died for you.